Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we're going to be going over my thoughts on the USFL award winners, and if I think they were the right award winners, who I think other finalists may have been, and if I think a different player should have won the award. So last night the USFL announced they would announce the award winners tomorrow, or today. And I like how the USFL has awards and stuff like that, but I wish they announced the award finalists today, and not the actual award winners. They should announce them sometime next week between the playoffs and the championship game. So, like content creators and just people like that have time to predict who's going to win each award after they see the finals and stuff like that. Alright, so the USFL announced the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. Starting off with Coach of the Year, that was won by Generals coach Mike Riley. So they did not announce finalists, so I'm just going to be telling you who I think other finalists may have been. But I think it was Mike Riley and Skip Holtz of the Stallions. Both teams finished 9-1, had outstanding seasons. I agree with giving it to Mike Riley, not because I'm a Generals fan, because I feel like the Generals were the overall better team and didn't have a partially late season collapse. And even though the Stallions didn't lose their final 4 games or something like that, they did not play very well at the end of the season. So Mike Riley, leading the Generals to a 9-1 record, wins Coach of the Year. Agree with that one. Next, we have Defensive Player of the Year. That went to Gamblers edge rusher Chris Odom. So Odom had a tremendous season. He led the USFL with 12.5 sacks. He was actually the only player with more than 10 sacks. Other finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year award, I consider are DeMarcus Gates of the Stallions. I could see it going to Odom because of his ability to consistently get pressure on the quarterback. But I think DeMarcus Gates is a little bit more deserving of the award. So, and he doesn't have double-digit sacks like Odom. He has 6.5 sacks. He wasn't only a pass rusher. He had, I believe it was like 60-something tackles. 11 tackles for a loss, which led the league. And he also was really good in coverage. He had 6.5 sacks. I'm not sure if I said that already. He had an interception and 3 passes defended. So he's like the Micah Parsons of the USFL. He's a versatile outside linebacker who could do anything, rush the passer, play in coverage, and is good at everything. So I would have given the Defensive Player of the Year to DeMarcus Gates, but I don't think it's a terrible idea that they would give it to Chris Odom because of how good he was this season. So that's the first one I disagree with. Next, we have the Offensive Player of the Year, and that award went to Generals running back Darius Victor. He was a top 3 running back in rushing yards. And he also led the USFL in rushing touchdowns with 9. He was a nightmare for opposing defenses. Other contenders for the Offensive Player of the Year I would consider are Cavante Turpin of the Generals and Kyle Sloter of the Breakers. But I do agree with the Generals. Darius Victor is the rightful Offensive Player of the Year. And finally, the MVP award, and that went to Generals wide receiver Cavante Turpin. So it's pretty rare to see a wide receiver win MVP. But with the quarterbacks not being great this season and Cavante Turpin being such a good player at everything, he was a really good returner, receiver, and he was also used in the running game of the Generals. He was a huge part of their offense. He led the league with 540 receiving yards and was second with 4 receiving touchdowns. He also had a return touchdown and added 129 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. So in total for Turpin, 921 all-purpose yards, and that's including return yards. Which is 4th in the USFL. So he did it all for the Generals. He was probably the most valuable player, as that is what the MVP is. And he did everything at a really high level. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the NFL next year. And he's pretty good there too. So USFL award winners are Mike Riley, Coach of the Year. Defensive Player went to Chris Odom. Offensive Player of the Year went to Darius Victor. And MVP was won by Cavante Turpin. So those are my thoughts on the USFL awards, and if I think those players were deserving of the awards, or if they weren't, who else should have won the award. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, if you also agree, disagree, and why. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.